Hello, Charles Watts from Goal here. Good to speak to you again. It's been a few days since my last video, and obviously we had the match last night against Pompey that I thought I'd come on and just talk about and go over a few things, my thoughts on the match, some of the events that sort of unfolded from it, and then look a little bit ahead to the weekend. First of all, again, thank you very much for all of those who've been watching my videos so far on YouTube. This is still very much a new thing for me. I'm into the second week of it now. I'm trying to keep you as updated as I can, and so far it seems like the video has been fairly well received, so that's I'm very happy about that, and thank you very much for the nice messages and nice comments on YouTube that you've been leaving, and I shall continue, hopefully, touch wood, to bring you some content that you enjoy and keep coming back for. So if you haven't yet, please do hit the subscribe button down there, and like I said, will try and make sure that you won't be disappointed with what is to come. I'm still, in my mind, I want to soon do a sort of Q&A for this. I'm going to get you to, I'll put out a shout either on Twitter, which if you don't follow me yet, it's at Charles_Watts, or my Facebook, or you can leave messages on these, possibly on this video, underneath this video, of any questions you've got for me in terms of anything to do with Arsenal, really. And I will sort of jot them down, and I'll do one of these videos just basically answering some of your questions, a bit of a sort of Q&A type thing, which hopefully should go down pretty well. And I'll do my best, as I said, to answer as many of the questions as I can. But let's get cracking on this one then. Portsmouth last night, job well done for Arsenal in the end, obviously going into it on the back of, well, what was a horrendous night really in the Europa League on Thursday night against Olympiacos. The mood around the club had taken such a nosedive after that defeat, and they couldn't afford another one at Pompey last night. Obviously, League One side, very strong at home. League One side though. It was always going to be a tough game for Arsenal at Fratton Park under the lights. So it sounds all cliche, I know, but it was always going to be a difficult. Certainly the first half an hour, and that's exactly how it proved. I mean, I didn't think Arsenal were great. I didn't go to the game last night. I've got to say I couldn't make it because of childcare issues, which has been away every single cup game so far this season. All of the FA Cup run has been on a Monday night. Kind of feeling like me not being there now has helped Arsenal get to the quarterfinals. And if this quarterfinal is going to be played on any other day of the week other than a Monday, which I will be able to go to, I kind of feel like I should stay away, really. I'm going to be a bit of a Jonah. I'll probably end up going and Arsenal go out. So it might be better if I stay away, even if it's not on a Monday night. But anyway, yeah, it was always going to be difficult, and it was. Pompey played well. They were cheered on by very lively home support, as you would expect at Fratton Park, and Arsenal sort of struggled to get into the game really without ever really being tested though. Pompey had a couple of dangerous moments, a couple of balls in, headers that went wide, but Emi Martinez didn't really have to have a save to make. He had a couple of clearances, punches from crosses, that sort of thing, but he was never really tested. And Arsenal grew into the half as it went on. They got the goal just before half-time. Lovely finish from Socrates, great ball in from Nelson. And from that moment onwards, there was only one winner. I thought Arsenal were really professional in the second half. Absolutely dominated the game. The second 45 minutes. Got the goal pretty early on, make it 2-0 in Nketiah from another Reece Nelson cross. And at that moment, it's kind of like Arsenal could have possibly gone on, killed them off, got 3 or 4, but settled on 2, kept a clean sheet, which was good. And booked their spot in the quarterfinals. First time in a couple of years they've got to the quarterfinals since they beat Chelsea in the final. That run. Been a couple of sort of disappointing campaigns really in the FA Cup since then. So it's good to be in the quarterfinals. First team there. Draw's going to be on Wednesday night, I think. So we'll find out who they got after the Man City game. I think the draw takes place. And yeah, they're in with a shout, aren't they? Obviously, there's a lot of good teams left in it. We'll see more in the next couple of days who stays in, who goes out over the next few days as the fifth round goes on. But Arsenal got a great chance. We've seen it. The most successful team in this competition, club in this competition is history. So no one's going to want to play them, and it represents a great chance for them to qualify, guarantee themselves a spot in the Europa League, which isn't guaranteed in the Premier League at the moment, given their 10th, and it also gives them a chance to win a trophy in Mikel Arteta's first season. So it's an awful lot to play for in the FA Cup this season, and that's why last night was so important. And for the way they responded, and they dealt with the situation against Olympiacos, and they, it was a much changed team. Look, it was a really young side, which made it even more impressive. Arteta took a lot of the players who actually played in the game against Olympiacos out, and he said after the game that was as a direct consequence of what happened against the Greek side, and some of their mindsets, and emotionally they were still down from that defeat. So he made a lot of changes, and it was a really young side. You had Saka, Martinelli, Nelson, Maitland-Niles, not Maitland-Niles, sorry, Willock, Eddie Nketiah, all playing, all starting. Maitland-Niles came on only for a few seconds towards the end, but an awful lot of young, talented kids in that lineup, and the way they dealt with Fratton Park, the atmosphere, the situation, given the pressure after the defeat to Olympiacos, I thought they did it really, really well. It was an excellent response. It was exactly what Arteta would have wanted and exactly what Arsenal needed. It doesn't. You can't forget what happened against Olympiacos and the disappointment of that night, but it's kind of you feel like they put it to bed, so to speak, now and can concentrate on the rest of the season, which is so important because there's still an awful lot to play for, FA Cup and the Premier League. So they couldn't afford to feel sorry for themselves, Arsenal. There's too much riding on these next couple of months, financially and competitively and just everything. Keeping players, signing players next season. There's so much to play for over the next couple of months. They couldn't afford to wallow in that defeat to Olympiacos. So delighted the way they responded last night. Fair play to them. Deserve a lot of credit. Sort of go through a few of the sort of individual performances last night. It was Pablo Mari, our first opportunity to see Pablo Mari in the senior side. Obviously, he's played a couple of appearances, couple of games, couple of 45 minutes for the under-23s. We played the full 90 minutes last night against Pompey. I thought it was excellent. Exactly what everyone I'd spoken to in Brazil had told me about him. It was demonstrated in that performance from Mari. Look, he was playing against the League One side who only played one up front, so he wasn't really tested. He's going to have an awful lot harder challenges to come if he's going to make it at Arsenal in the next few months, and make that move permanent in the summer. But I thought it was a really composed, calm debut. Excellent on the ball. His left foot, distribution was good. He was hitting short passes, long passes, switching play, which everyone in Brazil had told me was such a strong part of his game, and it looked it last night. I thought it was excellent. He read the game really well. Not the quickest, which is well known. I think, again, a lot of people were saying that after his move to Arsenal. Not the quickest, but just the way he read the game. He sort of dropped back a couple of paces when needs be, or he stepped forward and made the interception when needs be. Just read the game really well, and that's what makes up for the lack of pace, like Mertesacker did for all those years. Never a quickest, but an excellent defender. Knew exactly where he needed to be on the pitch, and I thought that's what sort of signs we saw from Mari yesterday. The next job, obviously, is for him to do that in the Premier League, against Premier League opposition, against top quality opposition, not against Portsmouth. And so it'll be interesting to see now what Arteta does with Mari, and how much he keeps him in the side or how much he starts playing him in the Premier League, because Mustafi's obviously been in excellent form. Luiz was named man of the match last night. I'm not sure I would have given him man of the match, I have to say, but he got man of the match from Jermaine Jenas. Sorry for mentioning that name, because for once I was watching on TV rather than at the game, so I had the pleasure of listening to Jermaine Jenas' co-commentary and could understand the reaction on social media to it. I'm pretty sure he'd have led the pitch invasion if Pompey had won that match. Such was his clear dislike of Arsenal and everything about Arsenal in the way he was talking. But he did give David Luiz man of the match at the end of the game, and he did play well, Luiz, fair play to him, and that was a good response considering he was pretty shaky against Olympiacos. And him and Luiz sort of dovetailed pretty well in that centre-back partnership, I thought. But going forward, you kind of look at them, they'll be competing for a place really, because they both want to play on the left-hand side of the central defensive pairing. I asked Luiz about that a few weeks ago, and he said he was happy to move to the right to accommodate Mari, but whether he really is, I think we'll have to wait and see, because he obviously likes playing on that left-hand side. But no, Mari looked promising. That was good. It was a really good thing to take away from that game last night. We waited a long time to see him. We started to wonder if we ever were going to see him, if it was going to be a Denis Suarez type situation. But I thought he certainly showed signs that he might have something to offer Arsenal next season and beyond if they make the move permanent, because obviously he's only on loan at the moment. There is an option to sign him in the summer. We'll have to wait and see. William Saliba is obviously coming in as well, so there is a new arrival heading in to the club in terms of a centre-back already. That's guaranteed. So it'll be interesting to see if Mari adds to Saliba when it comes to new arrivals. But that was great. I mean, I've got quite here. Arteta said after the game, talking about Mari, he said, I think he looked comfortable. He's very cool, very comfortable on the ball, always commanding the back four, and he looked like he'd played here for months. I think we have a good player. And, everything about that's correct. It didn't look like it was his debut. There was no signs of nerves, anything like that. It was just a positive performance from Pablo Mari, and fingers crossed it'll be the first of many. We'll have to wait and see about that. Other things to come to it. Look, Lucas Torreira injury, nightmare early on, really tough tackle. People were saying it was a red card, and I don't think it was. I think he got the ball. That shouldn't be the be all and end all, getting the ball, but I do think on this occasion it was a tough tackle, but I don't think it was a red card. I thought it was a fair but really tough challenge, and unfortunately Torreira's ankle sort of rolled under the weight of that challenge, and it looked bad. He was taking oxygen on the pitch. He was stretchered off, and kind of mixed signals really. But during the second half, it was said he didn't have to go to hospital, so everyone thought, oh, that's good, positive sign. But then at the end of the game, we saw some videos of him sort of in a protective boot, limping, being helped up the stairs, and then getting down the pitch towards the team coach. Didn't look great, and Arteta said afterwards he was in a lot of pain. He's going to have to be assessed over the next couple of days. They're unsure yet as to whether it's a break or a fracture, or if there's any fracture there, or if it's a ligament. If there's ligament damage, you just have to wait and see what the scans reveal over the next couple of days once the initial swelling and everything goes down. But it didn't look good. It didn't look like it was going to be a short-term thing with Torreira. I think he's going to be on the sidelines for a while, which is a blow to him. It's a blow to Arsenal. But having said that, Dani Ceballos came on for Torreira, and I thought he changed the game. I thought Ceballos was excellent. Didn't have the best of nights against Olympiacos, but overall I think he's been really good since he's come back into the team. He was good against Newcastle, he was good against Everton. I thought he was excellent last night. His ball distribution was on point. You look at the numbers after the game, I think only Granit Xhaka had more successful passes, and Ceballos, and Xhaka only played for a couple of minutes at the end, so I think he had 5, so that's why he had a more successful pass rate, because he only had 5. But Ceballos, he was well in his, I think it was 82 he had in 75, was successful. A lot of those in the opposition half as well, because before he came on I thought Arsenal were playing a lot of sideways, backwards balls, not really taking any risk when in possession. But when Ceballos got on the ball, he wanted to look forward. His first option was to look forward and try and pick out Nelson and Nketiah, someone like that. And I thought his arrival transformed Arsenal as a team and how they played, and he was good. He deserves a lot of credit, Dani Ceballos, because it was only a few weeks ago it looked like he could well be cutting his loan short. He was given that serious consideration because he'd been out for that horrible injury, been out for a long time. In that time, Emery had gone, Arteta had come in, Arteta wasn't using him. Arteta had publicly called on him to show that he was, ready to warrant a place in the team. He'd publicly called him out, really. I remember him doing it ahead of the Crystal Palace game and then leaving him out altogether at Palace. And at that point, you thought, is this going to be it for Ceballos? Does he not have a future here for the season? But he's come back in. He's worked hard. Everyone behind the scenes at Arsenal says he's worked really hard in training. He's shown Arteta that he wants to be used, because he could have just gone through the motion. Look, he's going back to Madrid in the summer. There's no option for Arsenal to turn it permanent. That's not to say they can't, but there is no option for them to do it. So the likelihood is he's going to go back to Madrid in the summer. And he could have just gone through the motions because of that, because he thought, well, look, I'm not playing to earn a transfer, I guarantee myself a transfer here. And he could have just gone through the motions, like I said, at London Colney, not really put the work in and seen out the last few months, taken his money and gone home. But he hasn't done that. He's really worked hard, and he's got himself in the team, and now he's playing really well. He's taking centre stage, in fact, and deserves an awful lot of credit. I thought he was really, really good last night, Dani Ceballos. So as bad as that Torreira injury was and how much of a blow as it was, I think on the night itself, I think it actually worked out pretty well for Arsenal because it brought Ceballos on, and like I said, I thought Ceballos was really influential in the victory. I just want to have a little word on Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He came on for the last couple of minutes again yesterday, last night, not featuring at all really, which is surprising because in Arteta's first 2 games he played a lot and he played well at right back, but Socrates was at right back again last night, which Papa's a lot of things, but he's not right back. Even though he took his goal very, very well last night. But that was from a central area, from sort of second ball from a set piece. But he's not a right back, and you'd think Maitland-Niles would do a much better job at covering for Bellerin than Socrates, but he's not getting a look in. And he got asked about it last night after the game by James Benj over at Football London, and he said Ainsley needs to put his head down and work hard and show me every day in training that he wants it more than anyone else. He wants to play for this club and fight for his place. So Arteta there's laying down the law to Maitland-Niles. It's pretty clear, just as he did to Ceballos only about a month ago. Ceballos answered that call when he pushed himself back into the side. Whether Maitland-Niles does that, we'll have to wait and see. You would hope so, because he's an Arsenal boy. And he's been here for a long time. and he'd got himself into the first team. I can understand that Maitland-Niles would have been frustrated because all of his appearances would have been at fullback, either right back mainly, but also at left back. He barely plays in central midfield, and so I can understand why he'd get frustrated after 2 successive seasons of that. But at least he's playing, so I hope he really sort of knuckles down and works hard and gets himself back into favour at Arsenal, because he's a very good squad player. Whether he's good enough to make it, I can't see him long term being a central midfielder for Arsenal. I can't. So whether he's good, whether he has to move on to become a central midfielder elsewhere, we'll have maybe so. But I hope before that happens, if it does happen, that he can get back in the team and start proving his worth, because he is a really decent option at right back, as he showed you in Arteta's first few games. So I thought it was interesting that he was publicly called out basically by Arteta yesterday. He's done that a few times, Arteta, now since he's arrived in his short time. And it's always seemed to work so far. Kind of done it with Mustafi, he's done it with Ceballos, as I said. So hopefully it works in Maitland-Niles as well. We'll have to wait and see. Eddie Nketiah deserves a lot of credit. I thought, fair play to him. It's his 3rd goal in 6 games now for Nketiah. He's averaging a goal, I think, every 124 minutes since he arrived back at Arsenal. That's better than Aubameyang. He's about 130. Lacazette's averaging a goal 220 every 220 minutes for Arsenal. So Nketiah's really putting the pressure on Lacazette with his goals, with his he worked really hard yesterday. I thought, really fair play to him. I thought his goals sort of demonstrated what Nketiah was about last night, because he could have easily given it up when he didn't get there initially from the cross and it bounced around, but he stayed alert. He kept, he was waiting for the ball to break to him as it did, and then he finished it off as he always does. He's a penalty box finisher, Nketiah. That's what he's best at. There's few better than him that I've seen, certainly at the moment, when it comes to actually those finishes in and around the penalty area. He's so sharp, and he showed it again last night. And he's giving Arteta a real headache now, because he started in the last 2 Premier League games, and you've got to say he probably warrants a start again this weekend against West Ham, because Lacazette's not really done anything to oust him yet. I thought Lacazette was poor against Olympiacos. I think everyone thought he was poor against Olympiacos. And Nketiah's now stepped up the challenge of another goal in the FA Cup, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him getting a nod at the weekend with Aubameyang and Pepe, or Nelson, who was fantastic again last night. 2 assists from Reece Nelson. I think he put in 12 crosses throughout last night. The second highest was Saka or Martinelli with 3, I think. And he caused Pompey all sorts of problems all night. He was so direct. He got the ball. He knew he had the beating of the fullback, so he just knocked it past him and went time and time and time again. It was a real bright point. Even early on, when Arsenal were poor, I thought Nelson stood out. And then when they grew into the game and started to dominate, he was, like I said, a constant thorn in the Portsmouth defensive side. And again, he's putting pressure on Pepe. Pepe's been much better recently. He's contributing more. He's scoring goals. He's setting up goals. But Reece Nelson's back now and he's fit. And Arteta likes Reece Nelson. Absolutely does like Reece Nelson. And if Pepe thinks he's guaranteed a starting spot, he's not at all. He needs to step up, especially if Nelson's performing the way he did last night. But that's good for Arsenal. The fringe players need to show that they're ready to start in the first team. I think it drives players on. Saka's taking his chance this season. Eddie's taking his chance at the moment. Martinelli's taking his chance. Nelson's driving forward and trying to push on and become a first team regular, and that's good for Arsenal. It really is. They need it, because they've not got much money to spend. We know that. Look, I spoke about it in my last video. The financial results, the probability of missing out on the Champions League again. They're not going to have much money to work with in the summer. What business they're going to have to do, they're going to have to do cleverly. So the more youngsters they've got banging on the door, the better, and they've got plenty of them at the moment, and that's a really good thing for Arteta, and it's a really good thing for Arsenal, just at a time when they need it most. And so credit to them, credit to the work that's going on at Hale End, and what's the work that's been going on there over the last 5 or 6 years, because it's really bearing fruit now, and that's good for Arsenal, and it bodes really well for the future. That's pretty much it for me now, I'd say. We got West Ham on Saturday, as I said there, talking about Nketiah's possibly starting once again. Mikel Arteta will be having a press conference at London Colney on Thursday. We haven't had full confirmation yet, but it'll probably be Thursday. It's normally 48 hours before the game. Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. Wow, been a long time. West Ham going into that on the back of a really good win at the weekend. Really important win for them, so they'll be going into it, with a bit of a boost of confidence. Played well at Liverpool the game before that as well, before beating Saints at the weekend. So it's not going to be easy for Arsenal. No game's easy for Arsenal at the moment. I think we all know that, judging by how this season has panned out. But they're going into it on the back of 2 successive wins in the Premier League, and although they're 10th, they're only 5 points off 5th. So still an awful lot to play for this week. And so like I said, I'll be at London Colney on Thursday discussing all of that with Mikel Arteta, and I'll do another one of these videos after that press conference, just detailing what went on, reporting back on what Arteta said, and like I said, hopefully soon I will be doing a Q&A. So if you do have any questions for me in this Q&A, that I promise you I will do at some point soon, maybe in the next week, leave a few comments, leave any questions you've got in the comments below, and then when I'll take them all down, and when I do sit down and do this Q&A, I'll have them in front of me, sitting right here on my computer. I'll type them out, and I'll go through and try and answer as many of them as I possibly can. So that's it from me, Charles Watson at Goal. Please do head down to Goal now. I've published a few stories recently. If you haven't caught them, they're on Goal at the moment. Go on my author page, you can catch them all on goal.com. Today's one was on Ceballos, like pretty much what I've spoken about a little bit today. I wrote a piece on Ceballos and how he's sort of transformed, turned his season around from where it was heading seemingly a few weeks ago. And so yeah, please do head over to Goal and catch up on what I've been publishing recently. So until then, thank you everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your week, and like I said, I'll be joining you from London Colney on Thursday.